Today, we have a special look at the new hardback Kingdom module for Harn World by Columbia Games, the Dwarven Kingdom of Azadmere. Hey guys, thanks for joining me here today. If you do want to help support the channel, please do hit like and subscribe, or consider joining us on Patreon, or perhaps become a member of the YouTube channel. Details for all of that is in the description below. Today, we're going to be having a look at the newest addition to the Harn setting by Columbia Games. This is the hardback version of the Kingdom of Azadmere. This is pretty new. In fact, this particular copy I have right now, it's not mine, they sent it to me, but it's not for me, it's for all reviewers, so I'm going to be sending this on to the next reviewer as soon as I'm done this video. So it's one of a kind at the time I'm shooting this video, so it's kind of cool to be part of that. Also, full disclosure, I haven't been paid to do this review or look at this book or anything like that. I'm just doing it because I want to support the company and I want to support the setting because I'm a huge Harn fan, as those of you who follow my channel will probably know. So what is the Kingdom of Azadmere? It is the Dwarven Kingdom in the island of Harn. It is very reminiscent of kind of Tolkien-ish dwarves. It's very reminiscent of Moria, not the mines of Moria, the abandoned mines as the Fellowship finds in Lord of the Rings, but rather what Moria might have been when it was Khazad-dûm, when it was a thriving dwarven mountain city. That is basically what Azadmere is. And the Kingdom module has been around, pretty much for as long as the setting has been around. This is the old version of it here. This, I think, is second or third printing right here. I also have the first printing. It's interesting because the old version is mostly black and white with very few pictures. I mean, they have full color maps here, but we'll get into all of that. We'll get into the differences between the old version and the new version. This new version is, as you can see here, it is a hardback book, pretty sturdy stuff, full color, as you can see. Just kind of a brief flip through. You can see there's more art, there's new full color art, new kind of pictures of NPCs and color maps and all kinds of good stuff. So, I'm not an expert on Azadmere. I never actually set a campaign in Azadmere. I've always wanted to. I've always been really curious about what it would be like to do a Dwarven-based campaign in Harn. So this may actually give me my opportunity. So the thing about these new books is that this Kingdom module now contains virtually everything that's been officially produced for Azadmere. This version here, this has a lot of stuff in it, but there was a bunch of other modules that were produced in various magazines and support documents and things like that over the years that has now all been put into this hardback. So this book is basically, this is the definitive Azadmere as far as I'm concerned. Everything that has ever been made for Azadmere is going to be in this book, which is pretty cool. It is a great resource for a GM because it is all at your fingertips. Before, you would have had to flip through various supplements, you would have had to compile various supplements, flipping back and forth between books to find certain details, but now, of course, it's all in one gloriously colorful hardback book. So let's have a peek inside here. I will say that all of the information in this hardback is present in the previous editions as well, but the hardback version has way more details, way more fleshed out stuff, way more NPCs, way more details about the areas in the Dwarven city and stuff. So it's significantly more detailed than the stuff we had in the previous modules. Same maps, and same information. It's not like they've changed anything. That's the thing that I like about Columbia Games, is that they do not change what has come before, and they never advance their timeline. So it's not like this is going to invalidate previous stuff. All it does is add to previous stuff. I've always really liked that sort of business model that they've done. So this here, Azadmere, it is divvied up into different sections that has page numbers. So for example, this back here, let's go here, Zerhun, this is a particular stronghold in the area and run by the dwarves, or the Kuzdul, and it has Zerhun 2, 3, 4, so the book is organized into the different locations mostly. So if I wanted to find out something specifically about Zerhun, I would turn to this section of the book. If I wanted to find out something specifically about Azadmere City, I'd turn to this page of the book, all that kind of stuff. But to begin with, we get the overall overview of Azadmere here. I'm not going to go into all the details here because there's just way too much to get into. I will say overall that Harn, especially now, is so big and so rich and so detailed, it would take a lifetime to go through it. There's no way you could ever run a game in all the different parts of Harn that have been detailed. There's just, there's too much. There's way too much, but that's kind of great. It's not overwhelming, it's exciting, at least it is to me. It's very enticing. I know that no matter where I want to set a game in Harn, it's going to have incredible amounts of detail that I'm free to use or ignore at my wishes. So we get the history of the Kuzdal here, which is a way more significant history than we get here, or even in the Harn World main supplement. This goes on and on and on, a really, really detailed history. Then we get the current situation in the city of Azadmere, in the kingdom. We talk about the royal family here, and of course there is a picture of the king there, and a list of the monarchs here as well. And then we get this kingdom map. Now this kingdom map is in fact a version of what you can get from the Atlas Harnica maps, which is this. So this, as you can see, this is the same map, exact same map, except that the one I have here is slightly bigger, so it's easier for old eyes to read. You can get these maps from Columbia Games. I love them. They're so incredible in terms of the detail. They basically show you every stream, every mountain peak, every contour. It's just amazing. If your players are big into the details of exploring areas, then I mean this is just like reality, man. You can literally describe every single contour of every single mountain. It's amazing, and of course it's got the map symbols here to help you figure out what's what. So this is the exact same map. I would say that it's helpful for me to have these separate maps rather than the maps in this book. I just generally speaking, having the maps in this book are very useful for the GM, but they're not quite as useful to be able to hand out to players because, well, they're in a book. You can't, unless you rip them out, or unless you wanted to crack the spine, which I never want to do in these beautiful things. If you wanted to crack the spine and photocopy it or something, you could do that too. But that is an advantage that the old versions had, because the old versions had these pull-out maps. You see, they just sort of sat inside there, and this kind of thing you could just give right to the players. You could plop it right on the table. And of course, the GM has his own version of the map in here as well. But that is one advantage of the old versions over this new version, is that you do have the pull-out maps that are just way more useful and more tactile. Again, none of this will matter if you're playing online, obviously, but for me, when I run Harn, I really want to make use of these beautiful physical maps that have been produced for the game, because they really just add this wonderful feeling of verisimilitude when you use the map. So that is one disadvantage of this new book, is that the maps are really there mostly as a resource for the GM, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I would be using both of these things. I'd be using the original one, or at least, you know, copies of the maps that I'm sure you can get at Columbia Games to hand out to the players. So this, back to the map here, this is a highly detailed map of Azadmere with all of the descriptions of the various areas. This is really cool. This is something they started to do in some of the later modules. I shouldn't say later modules, because all of this stuff has been around since the early 80s, mostly. Achievements of the select great clans of Azadmere. This is the heraldry of the various royal houses and noble houses of Azadmere. I love this stuff. I love it. I love it. It's just, it really pulls you into the game. You can make a copy of this and show your players, you know, what heraldic device is on the shield of a group of soldiers coming towards you and all that kind of stuff. It talks here about the Kuzan culture, the anatomy and physiology. Everything you need to know about dwarves is in here. The personality and worldview, clan structure, the role of women, fertility, the role of men, courtship and marriage, the diet. It just goes on and on and on. Really, this is like a National Geographic special on the details of the Harnic dwarves here. Of course, we talk about jewelcraft and weapons and armor. No Dwarven book would be complete without talking about jewels and weapons and armor. And of course, the various treasures and the lost treasures of the Kuzdal, the arts. And then we get, this is another section on the Yaran people. The Yaran people are basically Harn's version, at least in my version of Harn. The Yaran people are kind of like the Irish people a little bit. Something about Harn that those of you who don't know about Harn, Harn is very open to interpretation. So every GM's Harn is going to look different, right? For example, some people would pronounce that Jaran, or maybe Jaren, who knows? But for me, it's Yaran, and for me, clearly they're an analog of the Irish, so like the medieval Irish. Anyway, Harn could be whatever each GM wants it to be. But here we've got, they talk about the Yarn culture. Those are the humans that live amongst the dwarves, not in the city itself, but in the area surrounding it. We talk about the government. We talk about their law, military law, of course, their religion, economics. I'm telling you, this level of detail is unsurpassed. The natural resources of the area, the Godstone, that's a particular thing in Harn, which I'm not going to get into right at the moment. Military resources. It tells you what kind of troops that the king can field, that kind of stuff. And then we get the specific details of Azadmere City. We know the areas, we know who the holder of each fief is, basically, because Harn is a very, very, very feudal society. Right down to the acres of usable land, right? And the number of households in each area. This is a human settlement called Habe, or Habe, as I would say it. Again, every GM's going to say it differently. Here again, we have all of the different fiefs and who runs them, who holds them, their acreage, their land quality, the number of households, all this stuff. Again, you don't need to use any of this stuff if you're not running that level of detail, but I love having it here. It really evokes the feel of Harn being like a living, breathing world with all of this kind of stuff. Anyway, then we go to Azadmere City specifically, and now we get into the details of the actual Dwarven city. So we've got maps here that are broken down into sort of different districts. Again, full color maps, which is really, really great. All of this stuff does exist in this original module, just nowhere near the detail level that this hardcover book has. So we go on, it gives us not only full color maps and keys to those maps, but also we get particular details on the NPCs that run this area. So for example, we have a jeweler here named Demelak, or from Clan Demelak, and this gives us not only a picture of Prexla Demelak, who presumably is the proprietor, is the head jeweler there, but also some details about their clan, maybe their history, what they're doing here, possible adventure hooks. Very rarely did you get that level of detail in these original Kingdom modules. Sometimes you did, but mostly that came with expansions, and all of that expanded material is included in this hardback book. It goes on and on, everything you need to know about Azadmere City. The inner city, this is a different section now, and it tells you about the different areas. And then we get this, so these maps did exist as well. This is the interior of the city. These maps did exist here as well. See if I can find them. But here we go. But they were all black and white. See? So this is just a full color version of this one here. And it looks way better. It looks way, way, way better. Not going to lie. We go on and on. We talk about Kir Azain, which is the fortress. Tells us each level with the map and a key, and we know what's going on there. And then we get the overall color map, the player map that you could hand to your players, or a version that you could plan to the players if they were there. More details about Azadmere City. It goes on and on. I mean, this thing is fantastic. Notable personalities in the city, and of course, adventure hooks. What kind of Kingdom module would be complete without adventure hooks? We get into more details about various people. Just fantastic. It's just chock full of stuff. Chock full of stuff. And then finally, so this is, I don't even know how many pages. It's just an amazing 30, 40, 50 pages, who knows. And then we get to the Habe section. So again, this is a different part of the Azadmere Kingdom map, but it is an important settlement. So we have details of that settlement, including its name, its history, of course, its heraldry, and important NPCs, the government, the economics. Again, incredible amounts of detail. Here we have the GM map, which of course is keyed right here, full color, which is always nice to have. Kair Habe, which is the castle, again, full color. That's something we never got in the original books. And it goes on and on. Again, we've gotten this new art, and it's full color art, and it really is good stuff. It evokes the feeling of Harn, I think, very well. All kinds of interesting adventure hooks here. And then we go to Zerhun. Zerhun is a Dwarven fortress. We get this really cool picture, which again, never existed before. We had to rely on our own imaginations. Now we get this suggestion of what it might look like through the art, which is great. And it goes on, and again, we get full color maps, which is super cool. And we continue, all kinds of NPCs, and again, adventure hooks. The Sorkins, so this is an example of them taking various supplemental modules that existed kind of out there and putting them all in one place. So the Sorkins are a mountain range where Azadmere exists. And so this gives you a thorough understanding of everything you ever needed to know about this mountain range. It tells you the location of it, it tells you the history, the geography, the fact that there's different ranges in it, all with different names. And again, we have this beautiful color map here, which is superimposed on the regular, beautiful Harn Kingdom map. Over here, we get really drilled down into specific details about specific areas in those ranges. So if your characters wanted to adventure around Azadmere, it's not just the city, it's the entirety of the area that is completely detailed here. It's just fantastic. We've got random encounter tables here for the various areas you're in. This is great stuff that you don't have to do now as the GM because it's all done for you here. And it continues on, different areas, all kinds of adventure hooks in here, various specific locations with their own maps. And then again, we have the Silver Way, which is a trade route, basically. This was another extra thing that exists out there. Now, boop, it is plopped into this book with full color illustrations, which are all brand new stuff. The history of it, what's going on in terms of the current situations. This is all potential adventure hook stuff, all of this. If you read through this stuff, you're gonna find 8, 10 different ideas for adventures virtually in every section. For me, that's the thing I love most about the Harn supplements, is that they just ooze with adventure possibilities. It's extremely easy to come up with an idea for an adventure just by, glancing through this stuff. Yeah, we've got some ruins here with a ghost, which is pretty cool. There's the ruins here, full color ruins. Love these little maps, just so evocative, really just sucked me right into the world. And then Gute Bridge, which is another adventure location, and it goes on and on and on. And I think this is I think this is a Dwarven ruin here. This is the last of the book. And then we have this page, which is kind of cool. This is an excerpt from this map here, the Atlas Harnica blow-up map here. But it's kind of cool because it shows you here where in Harn this is located, and then it tells you related products that all could apply to adventures in Azadmere. So all of these things are like the Harnic Bestiary, or there's a product called Ghosts, which is, you can buy all of these individual modules, right? And most of them are just a couple pages, but they give you everything you need to know, especially if you're playing Harn Master. These monsters have Harn Master stats. And again, Harn is system neutral. You don't need to use Harn Master. You can use any game system you want. But if you do want the Harn Master system, or stats rather, then all of this stuff is going to be here. Harn Master Barbarians is a supplement that's going to be important here because there's certain barbarian tribes that exist in this area as well. So it's just endless amounts of detail, And finally, of course, we've got the map keys, which are going to apply to all of the interior and exterior maps throughout the totality of the Harn map. So that is the Kingdom of Azadmere book. It is full of adventure possibilities, absolutely chock full of it. Great new color art. I'm so honored that Columbia Games asked me to have a look at this so I could share this with you. I get very excited about everything Harn, as you can probably tell. As far as I know, they're producing far more of these. I think their goal is to produce every single kingdom in Harn as a hardcover book, which is just a phenomenal resource for the GM to have. Everything at your fingertips like this is super, super, super useful. So if you are thinking about running a game in Harn, I would heartily recommend that you check out Columbia Games and see if you can get your hands on some of these things, because they're just great, and they'll just blow your mind with the adventure possibilities for things to do in Harn. So yeah, that's the Kingdom of Azadmere from Columbia Games. Thanks for joining me here today. And if you want to help support the channel and have me continue doing things like this, little capsule reviews and things like that, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, please like and subscribe, or consider joining the Patreon or the YouTube channel membership below. Thanks for joining me here, and we will see you next time on Me, Myself, and Die.